morning. Today is Friday. It is Gimel Shvat. Am I right? No, it's actually
Aleph Shvat.
Beis Shvat.
Beis Shvat.
Yes, there was a Shkedish.
Yeah.
So it's
Beis
Beis
Shvat.
Shvat. No,
Oh, really?
maybe in South Africa.
Okay.
It's fake the Yema. Anyway, Beis Shvat, Tovshin Dalet. We are in Toiris Menachem Sefer HaMamorim Tovshin Yud Aleph Tovshin Yud Beis in the Maimer of Yud Shvat Tovshin Yud Beis Bosi Lgani. We are on page Reish Zayin, Ois Gimel, chapter 3, begins with the word Vihine. In short, excuse me, the Rebbe is focusing in on the second chapter of the previous Rebbe's Maimer, Bosi Lgani Tovshin Yud, where he explains the idea of the service of sacrificial offerings as they are manifest in man's service of Hashem, in the temple that each and every Jew possesses within them. But also the mikdash shechan to be seicham in each and every Jew, should make for me a temple in each and every Jew. And all the services that were performed in the temple have their spiritual parallel, if you will, in the neshama, in the nefesh adam, in avodas adam. What is karbonis in the spiritual sense? Karbonis means bringing close to Hashem. Karban from the expression of kiruv, bringing close to Hashem. Hakoichis v'achushim, the abilities and the faculties, the talents, the abilities of the person to Hashem. And that consisted of, first of all, just like a physical carbon, you have to make sure that it had no blemishes, the animal had no blemishes. So the first stage is to check one's nefesh habamis, his animal soul, and one's guf, body, to make sure it's got no blemishes, meaning to say that there's nothing out of order in terms of one's conduct. There's nothing negative there that hinders the person from coming close to Hashem. That's step number one. Make sure that it's a shalom, that it's whole. And once one has ensured, good morning, that that's the case, then one can begin with the process of becoming close to Hashem. And the Rebbe explained that Korban reaches, he quotes from Kabbalah, Rosa the Kurbana Oila ad Rosa the Ein Sof. The secret of the Korban reaches all the way to the secret of the Ein Sof, the infinite, which means to say that the Korban reaches the highest levels, touches the highest levels, and draws down the highest levels of godliness. And the Rebbe pointed out, and I didn't elaborate on this point at the end of last year, but I'll do that now. The Rebbe pointed out that when the Pasuk in Vayikra talks about Karbonis, first of all, it says, Odom ki yakriv mikem korban la Hashem. If a person will bring a korban la Hashem, to Hashem. So first of all, the Rebbe pointed out from the Zohar that a korban is la Hashem, to Yudke Vovke, rather to Elikim. Right? There's a pasuk which says, Eveach lo Elikim yocharam. He who offers up offerings, lo Elikim, to Elikim, yocharam, shall be destroyed, or be put to death. The simple meaning is that talks about offering karbonos, sacrificial offerings to idols. But the Zohar explains, takes it literally almost. Lo Elikim, Korban is not to Shem Elikim, Korban is to Shem Yudkei Vovkei. Korban is to Hashem as he expresses himself in Yudkei Vovkei Chesed rather than Elikim Gvura. That's how the Zohar interprets it. Why? So the Rebbe says, because the secret of the Korban reaches all the way to the secret of the Ein Sof. And we know that Yudkei Vovkei, as we learned in the Maimer Va'era, he doesn't elaborate here. There is Shem Havaya de la Tata and Shem Havaya de la Ela. There's the lower level of Yudkei Vovkei, there's the higher level of Yudkei Vovkei. The lower level of Yudkei Vovkei is Miloshon Mahava, from the expression of creator. Yudkei Vovkei Hashem Havaya Miloshon Mahava, the creator. That's the level of Yudkei Vovkei as it relates to world. Then there's Yudkei Vovkei, which is Hoyo Hevevi Ke'echad. It expresses Hashem's limitlessness in the sense that He's beyond time altogether. That it's past, present, and future all wrapped up in one. That's the higher level of Yudkei Vovkei. Says the Rebbe that Rosa the Kurbana Eilad Rosa the Ein Sof, the secret of the carbon reaches all the way to the secret of Ein Sof, that it reaches even beyond Yud Kei Vav Kei. Because Yud Kei Vav Kei is also something which is related to what? To world in a sense, because over here the Rebbe explains it, that Yud Kei Vav Kei expresses within it, encapsulates within it, the whole Seder Ishtalshalos. Yud is Tzimtzum, contraction. Hey is Hispashtus, spreading out. That's Chochmah and Bina. Vav is Amshacha, drawing down, which is the 6 midas, 6 emotional attributes. And then there's the final Hey, which is Malchus. And since we say that the Roz of the Korban, the secret of the Korban goes all the way up to the Roz of the Ein Sof, the secret of Ein Sof, so it must reach even beyond Yud Kei Vav Kei. That's why in the Pasuk, later on, in Vayikra, in the beginning, first it says, bring a carbon lahavaya, to Yud Kei Vav Kei. Then it says, min habehema, min habokar, min hatzoin, from the animal, from the cattle, from the sheep, you should bring your carbon. And then it says, following that the carbon needs to be lirtzoini lifnei havaya. The person has to do it willingly, lifnei havaya, before Yud Kei Vav Kei. But the Tzemach Tzedek explains that lifnei havaya means beyond Yud Kei Vav Kei. Lifnei, before, beyond. Because ultimately carbon reaches even higher than Yud Kei Vav Kei. So how does that work? And I believe this is what the Rebbe is explaining. The first step is Sur Meira. Make sure there are no blemishes, that the animal and the body are whole. Meaning to say, remove yourself from negative behaviors, remove yourself from those negative feelings and instincts and tendencies that are a barrier to becoming close to Hashem. Because as the Alter Rebbe explains in Tanya, in Nesechem Abdilim, misdeeds are a barrier. They just don't allow the person to come close to Hashem. So first you have to make sure that that condition doesn't exist. Once you make sure that condition doesn't exist, the beginning of the carbon means the godly soul starts becoming close to Hashem. Lahavaya Adam ki yakrev mekem korban lahavaya. Then the godly soul affects the animal soul also to become close to Hashem. As I have explained at length, that you remove the energy, you shech the animal soul, you remove its energy from physical experiences and you invest it into godly and holy experiences. And when you bring the carbon mina behema, mina boka ben atzoin, from the animal, from the cattle and from the sheep, that's already a reference to what? To the nefesh habahamis, to the animal soul. Then it's the tzoni lifnei havaya, you reach even beyond Yud Kei Vav Kei. So that's the anatomy of the spiritual carbon. Now the Rebbe focuses in on another aspect of the carbon, and that is its consumption. It's being consumed by the fire. As we know, the physical carbon that was brought on the Mizbeach, on the altar in the temple, on the altar the Gemara says there was an Eish Shalamayla, that a fire descended from above from heaven. It was a miracle, descended from above from heaven, and it would be present on the Mizbeach. And it says that even though the fire came down from heaven, it was still a mitzvah lavim and a hedyet. It was a mitzvah to bring a physical, natural fire on the Mizbeach as well. But nevertheless, that was a symbol that the carbon, the sacrificial offering, is being consumed by the fire of above. So that was a physical phenomena that existed on the Mizbeach, on the altar in the temple. What is this fire from above in the spiritual sense? Carrying on along this line, that all these things that we had by the physical carbon in the temple also find expression in the spiritual carbon, the spiritual offering that a person brings to Hashem. That's what the Rebbe focuses on now. V'hinei, chapter Gimel, page Reish Zayin, Ois Hei. V'hinei, b'hakarbonis, in the offerings that were brought in the temple. V'chein, b'kirva keches v'chushim, so too, in the bringing close of one's abilities and talents to Hashem, one's faculties and abilities to Hashem, which is the spiritual idea of bringing a korban. The physical korban was consumed in the fire from above. So too in the service of Hashem, of korbanos, of sacrificial offerings, as it expresses itself in each and every Jew. The previous Rebbe explains where in chapter 2 of his Maimer Bosi Lgani Tafshin Yud, that the sacrificial offerings, the spiritual sacrificial offerings that a person brings, need to be consumed in the fire from above. What is the fire from above? Vehu Rish Pei Eish. This is a reference to the coals of fire shebenefesh ha'elikis, which the godly soul possesses. Shehu ha'esh shelamayla, the coals of fire. We'll soon see what that is. That the godly soul possesses, that is the fire from above, corresponding to the fire from above that was in the physical temple on the physical mizbeach, in which the animal soul is consumed. As the verse states in Shir HaShirim, in Song of Songs, her coals are coals of fire, shall heves yudke, a flame of yudke. The original pasuk says shall heves ka as one word, and there are different interpretations, right? I believe some of the Farshim, I think particularly the Evan Ezra says shall heves yudke means it's a godly fire. But certainly, al pichsidis, the definition is that we're talking about a fire, a flame of Yudke, of Hashem. What is that? A reference to, it talks about love. So this is a reference to the love that a Jew has for Hashem. The Shoyrish Ha'av, Shebenefesh Ha'eliki is the source of the love of the godly soul, the source of the godly soul's love, Hu Me'ha'esh Shelamayla, it is from the fire of above, shall heves yudke, the godly fire. So the coals of fire that are possessed within the godly soul come from where? Shall heves ka, from the fire of God. Therefore, gam ha'ava shebenefesh ha'eliki b'yosel lamata. Therefore, since the source of the godly soul's love to Hashem is from God, the godly fire, the spiritual fire of God through its connection to Hashem, therefore also the love that the godly soul possesses when the godly soul is down below, clothed in a body, nikras eishel abayla, it's also referred to as the supernal love, the love from above, even as what? As the godly soul is down here below. To explain this, to elaborate further, why the supernal love and the love of the godly soul are called what? The godly fire, the fire from above. It is brought in the book of formation that the 10 divine attributes are like a flame that is tied to a coal. What does that mean? Maharash and the Rebbe Maharash the fourth Lubavitcher Rebbe elaborates. He explains. He breaks it down that when we talk about a flame that is tied to a coal, there are two aspects to a flame that's tied to a coal. Physically, there is a coal, a hot coal, when the flame is what? Inside the coal. Then there is a coal, a flame that is on top of the coal. A coal that's burning. A flame that is on a coal, in other words, a burning flame, a revealed flame, it is possible for this flame to be on its own. I'll get to that in a second, he's going to explain. But it's just that a flame that could be on its own has no existence to it and no texture to it, no mamoshes, no tangibility. There's a Mishnah in Masechta Beitza, in Masechta Bei, which says as follows. It talks about things that it mentions over there that if somebody takes a coal and on Shabbos and carries it out from a Reshus HaYochid to a Reshus HaRabim, from a private domain to a public domain, we know that Heitzah on Shabbos is prohibited, right? One is not allowed to remove things from a private domain to a public domain. So if one takes a coal out on Shabbos from a private domain into a public domain, is chayev. He's culpable. What happens if he takes out not the coal but a flame from a private domain to a public domain? He's potter. He's exempt. He hasn't transgressed the prohibition of removing something from a private domain to a public domain. Says the Gemara, what do you mean you take a fire? How do you take a fire from a private domain to a public domain? On its own. So the Gemara says it's, for instance, when he throws the flame. So you have a flame burning, let's say on a a torch, as it were, right? And you're standing in the private domain, and you catapult, you throw the torch, as it were. You hold on to it, but you sort of throw it with your hand, and the flame detaches itself from a flame detaches itself. Sometimes when you have a fire, you see tongues of fire on their own, momentarily, for however long it is, but you do see them in a detached form, right? So he throws this flame, and it moves from the private domain to the public domain. So that is considered moving a flame from a private domain to a public domain, and in such an instance, one is exempt. So what's the point? The point is we see that there is a possibility, however momentarily, for a flame to be on its own. For fire, just to burn on its own without being attached to anything. So he says like this. So when he breaks it down, so when you have a coal, right? And you have a coal where the fire is inside the coal. That's one scenario. In that case, no, he's talking about actually a hot coal, where the flames aren't burning, revealed, but they're inside the coal, right? So there you cannot separate between the coal and the flame. It's inside the coal. Then you have the coal where the fire burns openly. So although the fire is attached to the coal, but it is possible for that fire to be detached from the coal, as we just saw from this Mishnah in the Gemara, right? The Mizeh Yoidim from this Mishnah, Mishnah, that's why, since a flame could theoretically, possibly, or even practically, be on its own, separated from the coal, that's why the Mishnah says the Hamaitzi shall have his potter, that one who removes a flame from a private domain to a public domain is exempt. What does that mean? The Mizeh Yoidim, Beis Oinyan, from this we know both things. What did he say before? He said before that a flame that's burning on a coal, a burning coal, the flame exists, but it doesn't have any mamoshes, any texture, any tangibility on its own. Therefore, you find these two aspects in the din. That on the one hand, we see these two things, that it is possible for a flame to be on its own. Therefore, it is possible to discuss and to contemplate this law. What happens in an event when somebody removes a flame from one domain to another? Aval, at the same time, the flame doesn't have any self-existence, as it were, and any tangibility on its own. And therefore, the result is, the conclusion is, that if somebody removes a flame from a private domain to public domain, is exempt. Because you're not actually moving anything. You move the flame, but the flame is not no substance to it. What does that mean in the moral? How does that metaphor? What are we describing with this metaphor? V'hinei. So he says like this: before the world was created. What does it mean before the world was created? It doesn't only mean before the physical world was created, but it also shekel was included in this. Is also gam achalei itself. Before anything was emanated from Hashem, which means including what? The world of emanation, which is which world? Olam ha Atzilus, right? So before the world was created, which means even before the world of Atzilus was created, the world of emanation was created, which means what? Before there were actual revealed 10 spheres, 10 divine attributes. Where the beginning of the revelation of the 10 divine attributes in their fullest parts of in their fullest form is where? Spiritual form is in Atzilus. So even before that, as is brought in the books of Kabbalah, that when we say before creation, it also refers before emanation. What was the state of the things? There existed. There was only what? He and His name alone. God and His name alone, which means what? Another way of saying Hashem and Hashem's infinite light. Hashem's infinite light. We'll see the light, Hashem's divine light, as it is included within Himself. In that we know already the 10 spheres, the 10 divine attributes of Atzilus are revealed. They must come from someplace. Where do they come from? From God's infinite light. So, but what are they called then? They're called Esespheres HaGnuzois B'Ma'atzilam. The 10 divine attributes which are hidden within their emanator. Right? It's like the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, if you have the ray of the sun that shines outside, you must say that it exists inside the sun. It's just that the sun is so powerful that you can't discern between the sun and the ray in its source. So too when we talk about what? Hu ushmei bilvad, he and his name alone, right? So you must say that there are roots for these 10 divine attributes in the source, but you can't discern them. It's called Eses Firas HaKadosh B'Matzilim. The 10 divine attributes concealed within their emanator. V'yachar kach,
Flame within the coal.
v'yachar kach, exactly, that's what he's building up to. That's the flame within the coal is gnuzis, the flame outside of the coal is revealed. V'yachar kach, and after this, netz las firas, the divine attributes were emanated. The base in Yodem Elu, these two aspects, these two concepts, Eses Firas HaKadosh B'Matzilim, the 10 divine attributes that are hidden within their emanator. And the 10 divine attributes as they were emanated, where? In Atzilus, in the world of emanation, these are metaphorically similar to the two aspects of the kol. I'm sorry, Shalhev is the flame. Shalhev is the flame that's within the kol, even though a red hot coal, when the flame is inside. The heat is very, very powerful, stronger than when the flame is revealed. However, when it's within the coal, there is no existence, there is no separate existence at all to the flame. You can't separate at all between the coal and the flame. Certainly you don't see over there all the details of the flame, the different colors and the different levels of heat and so on and so forth. The ein nikir sham etziusa, because over there the existence of the separate existence of the flame is not discernible. Ki'im rak b'tzisa kachel is the only thing that you see that you can that is tangible and that is obvious and is seen is the coal. It's just that we have proofs and there are proofs. That what? That there is also a fire inside the coal. The adrabah, on the contrary, even more so. The fire is even more powerful. But what is obvious? What is obvious is only the coal. So to and even more than the subach lolos it's generally concerning the concept of the 10 attributes as they are hidden in their emanator. The mashiach nesham. What do you see over there? What is there? What exists there? Huraka matzil, only the emanator. It's just that we have proof. From what? From the 10 revealed attributes as they are in Atzilus, in the world of emanation. That proves that there must be 10 divine attributes hidden within the emanator, because otherwise where do they come from? And afterwards, there are the 10 divine attributes as they're hidden in the emanator, and later on, at a later stage, in the world of emanation, these 10 divine attributes are emanated from Hashem, but certainly even after they were emanated from Hashem, they must be tied to their source. Hainu, what is their source? The 10 hidden divine attributes, just like the fire that is on the coal that is revealed, that it must be tied and connected to the fire that is within the coal. And this is its entire existence. Because if she shall become separated from her source, it'll become into a state of naught and nothingness. He is reverted into a state of nothingness. Okay, we'll have to stop here. We'll continue on Sunday.